This video is made in collaboration with NARUTOPEDIA. For more information, check out the link in the description. The life of Danzō Shimura from Naruto. Danzō Shimura was an elder of Konohagakure. As the founder and leader of Root, Danzō gained notoriety as the darkness of the Shinobi because of his frequent unsanctioned actions and his often suspected but rarely proven undermining of specific Konoha personnel. Despite his decades of suspicious deeds, Danzō only ever acted in what he believed were the village's best interests. He was appointed the Sixth Hokage Candidate after Pain's assault on the village. Prior to being inaugurated officially into his post, Danzō would flee the Five Kage Summit and died in battle against Sasuke Uchiha at the Samurai Bridge. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Danzō Shimura. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. But first, I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. It can be hard to keep track of all the amazing features Squarespace offers, so let's talk about a few of our favorites. If you'd rather work as a team, easy. Squarespace's platform offers room for several content creators to work at once. The site allows you to give selective editing roles to users through the website manager. So if you only want a user to be able to edit certain pages, you can set that in their permissions. They also allow you to easily import media into your site, whether it be traditional such as pictures and videos, or modern such as social media posts and a commenting system. If you'd ask us what's most important in building an online venture, we'd say that it's content ownership, and Squarespace provides you with just that by letting you retain full ownership of all the content released using their service. We'll let you in on a little secret. Every annual Squarespace account comes with a free domain name for the first year of subscription, making it easier than ever to make your site go live. So what are you waiting for? Go to squarespace.com/amagi and enter the promo code Amagi to save 10% on your first purchase of a website or domain. Background. Born into the Shimura clan to his shinobi father, Danzō went on to joining the academy, where he was amongst the first few hundreds of students to graduate. From his Genin days, he was acquainted with Hiruzen Sarutobi, who he became rivals with in everything. Danzō once saw the first Hokage in battle, where he witnessed Hashirama's formidable wood-release ninjutsu. During the First Shinobi World War, Danzō, as part of the escort unit alongside Kagami Uchiha, Tofura Akamichi, and Team Tobirama, became surrounded by Kumogakure's Kinkaku squad. Having concluded that a member of their team had to sacrifice themselves as a decoy in order for the rest of them to escape, Danzō struggled to bring himself to volunteer. As Hiruzen proclaimed to take the role, Danzō called himself weak while a part of him was relieved. Lashing out at Hiruzen for volunteering before he could, the second Hokage decided to be the decoy instead, all while appointing Hiruzen as the successor to Danzō's shock. The team then managed to escape at the cost of Tobirama's life. With Hiruzen having beaten him to the title of Hokage, Danzō began planning someday to attain the title himself. Taking up the village's more clandestine operations, something that Hiruzen noted because of his own indulgence he allowed Danzō to do, he created the Anbu subsidiary named Root, with the organization under Danzō's direct command. Within this group, Danzō himself handpicked various young shinobi with noticeable potential to join. During the Third Shinobi World War, Danzō agreed to provide aid to Hanzo of Amagakure in order to receive help in claiming the title of Hokage, sending some of his forces to deal with Akatsuki, but they were wiped out by Nagato. In the anime, it's revealed Danzō manipulated Hanzo into joining forces with him against Akatsuki, having brought him corpses of Ame shinobi claiming they were killed by Akatsuki. In truth, they were Root members disguised as Iwa shinobi that were killed during Nagato's rampage, originally being used to disrupt a peace treaty between Konohagakure and Iwagakure in his pursuit to strengthen Konoha. Once the two shinobi joined forces, Danzō approached Akatsuki as an Ame shinobi named Kanzo, informing them that Hanzo is allowing the group to make peace negotiations, which of course was a ruse concocted by the allied shinobi. At some point in time, Danzō also had dealings with Orochimaru, who accompanied him along with Tatsuma Aburame to Konoha Orphanage, where he strong-armed a former Anbu agent, Nono, to infiltrate Iwagakure and confirm the intel on what the village was planning. Soon after, Danzō notices Kabuto Yakushi spying from the window and decides to recruit the boy as well. However, in time, both Kabuto and Nono become assets too dangerous to be left alive, and Danzō tricks a brainwashed Nono into killing Kabuto. Danzō sent Orochimaru to ensure no survivors, however he instead took Kabuto under his wing without Danzō's knowledge. At some point, Orochimaru also surgically replaced Danzō's right arm with Shin Uchiha's, infusing the limb with Hashirama Senju's DNA to modify his physical energy. Later in the anime, when Hiruzen sought to end the bloodshed from the Third Shinobi World War through a truce with other villages, Danzō voiced his disdain, feeling that such an act was spitting on the memory of all the Konoha shinobi who died so far. Understanding Danzō's intent, Hiruzen decided to take responsibility for the loss by stepping down as Hokage. At a meeting with the Land of Fire Council, Danzō strongly suggested that Orochimaru be made the 4th Hokage. Hiruzen, however, pointed out that Orochimaru had grown power-hungry and shown signs of sinister intent. Ultimately, Minato Namikaze was elected as 4th Hokage unanimously, excluding Danzō, who detested the idea, feeling that following Hiruzen's ideology will ultimately destroy Konoha. In the anime, during Kurama's attack on Konoha, Danzō insisted that the Uchiha clan not be allowed to join in the defense of the village, fearing that someone like Madara Uchiha would take advantage of the situation and use the Nine Tails against Konoha. Ultimately, he convinced Hiruzen to have the Uchiha purely protect the citizens and avoid the Nine Tails. After Kurama was stopped, Danzō was one of the elders to suspect the Uchiha clan was behind the attack, and began a spying operation on them, relocating the Uchiha to the outskirts of the village. With the 4th Hokage sacrificing himself to seal away the Nine Tails inside his son, Hiruzen humbly resumed his role as 3rd Hokage, much to Danzō's disdain. After which, Danzō approached a grieving young Kakashi Hatake, noting that it was Hiruzen's orders for the children, even high-ranking ninja like Kakashi, to not help battle the Nine Tails, ultimately preventing Kakashi from possibly saving his sensei and his wife. Convincing an emotional Kakashi that Hiruzen was not best for the future of the village, Kakashi agreed to join Danzō's root division and spy on Hiruzen for him. Later, as the 3rd Hokage resumed his role, Danzō, no longer able to tolerate Hiruzen's overly passive methods, sought to dispose of him. He sent several root members to assassinate Hiruzen. However, a smug Danzō was soon approached by Hiruzen, who revealed that Kakashi informed him of the assassination attempt. As Danzō feared for his life, knowing he would be executed for his treasonous actions, Hiruzen calmly chose to spare Danzō, keeping this event a secret on the condition that Danzō agreed to dedicate his life to protecting the village. Quickly recomposing himself, Danzō plainly stated that Hiruzen's naive faith and mercy would be his end one day, to which the 3rd solemnly admitted may be so. Later, Danzō met with Orochimaru, telling him about the recent events and insisted they not meet for a while in fear that Hiruzen might realize that Danzō and Orochimaru were behind the abduction of several Konoha citizens, to which the Sannin voiced that Hiruzen probably already had his suspicions. However, Orochimaru did another implant onto Danzō, taking Shin Uchiha's Sharingan-embedded arm and placing that, along with some of Hashirama Senju's cells, onto that of Danzō's. Later, Orochimaru's sinister actions were discovered by the 3rd Hokage, forcing the Sannin to abandon Konoha. When Danzō learned of this, he knew Orochimaru would most likely go to their hideout with the Iburi clan. He sent Kinoue to inform the clan of Orochimaru's arrival. Danzō's true goal was to have Kinoue capture Orochimaru, agreeing with Hiruzen that Orochimaru was too dangerous to let go rogue. Over the years, Danzō continued to recruit new members of Root, including Torune Aburame of the Aburame clan. 3 years after Orochimaru's defection from the village, fearing that his stolen Sharingan eye would soon go blind from its overuse, Danzō sent Kinoue in an attempt to steal Kakashi's Sharingan as a replacement. Kinoue soon returned, having chose to abandon his mission, much to Danzō's fury. Reminding the young shinobi of his duties as a Root member, Kinoue insisted that they should not attack allies to Konoha, to which Danzō proclaimed that Root's only true allies are its own, and it exists only to protect Konoha itself. Unable to accept Danzō's cold views, Kinoue spoke out, making his feelings known. Horrified to see how much Kinoue had changed, Danzō used his Sharingan to incapacitate him, having one of his men take Kinoue to have his cursed seal activated. As Danzō arrived in the operating room, he discovered Kakashi freeing Kinoue and retreating with him. Danzō and his men soon surrounded the duo. As Kinoue was still under Danzō's command and Kakashi had trespassed on Root territory, Danzō had full authority to execute them. Before Danzō could act, though, the 3rd Hokage arrived, revealing that Kakashi was sent on his orders with a summoning request to be delivered to Danzō. No longer able to attack, Danzō faked ignorance of Hiruzen's letter and called off his men. Hiruzen then spoke to Danzō about Kinoue and his abilities. Insisting that Konoha needed the wood release, Danzō agreed to hand over Kinoue to Hiruzen's command, but chose not to remove Kinoue's cursed seal. 3 years later, a potential alliance between Konoha and the Land of Woods was made. While a team was sent to exchange secret scrolls with the Wood Nin as a sign of trust, a small team of Anbu under Danzo's command was sent to observe under suspicion that the Woodnin would betray Konoha, in which case the Anbu were ordered to kill them. Danzō chose Kakashi, still having high respect for his abilities, and the new recruit Danzō recommended into Anbu, Itachi Uchiha, as a two-man team for the mission. 2 years later, when word reached Konoha's leadership of a planned coup d'etat by the Uchiha clan, Danzō took advantage of Itachi's pacifist tendencies and convinced him to provide him and the other elders with information on the clan's actions. When Shisui Uchiha, acknowledged for his unquestionable loyalty to Konohagakure, presented his plan of ceasing the Uchiha coup by casting Kodo Amatsukami on his clansmen to the council, Hiruzen agreed. Danzō, however, determined to protect the village in his own way, and believing that Shisui may try to manipulate him as well, stole the latter's right eye, implanting it into his socket, with Shisui committing suicide sometime later. When Hiruzen decided to end the coup diplomatically, Danzō secretly met with Itachi and convinced him into choosing to slaughter his clan by presenting him with the option of killing them and sparing his younger brother, Sasuke Uchiha, or letting them go through with the coup, having them all killed as the result. Itachi regretfully chose to agree to killing the Uchiha clan. Soon after performing the deed, Danzō told everyone Itachi had done this out of his own will, having grown to despise his clan and even sought greater power by stealing Shisui's eyes. While everyone else believed this fabricated story, Hiruzen saw through Danzō's lie, voicing his disgust at his actions. While trying to justify his actions by claiming it was for the village, Hiruzen retorted that the Uchiha were part of the village and never actually performed any treachery before their demise. No longer able to trust Danzō and his underhanded ways, Hiruzen immediately removed him from the council and ordered for his root division to be disbanded. Afterwards, Itachi's clone, disguised as a root member, approached Danzō and threatened to expose Konoha's secrets to the other countries if Danzō ever harmed Sasuke. Over the years, despite his root division being officially disbanded, Danzō continued to keep it secretly alive. During the Konoha crush, the 4th Raikage insinuated that the invasion was a secret plot of Danzō with Akatsuki to dispose of both Hiruzen and the 4th Kazekage. However, it's unknown whether this really happened. After seeing Hiruzen sacrifice himself using the dead demon-consuming seal to defeat Orochimaru, Danzō decided to teach Sai how to use a powerful Fuinjutsu in order to prevent the same from happening to himself. During the training, Danzō noted that Sai could use emotional energy to bolster the power of the attack, but warned the young man not to fall prey to his negative emotions. Tenchi Bridge Reconnaissance Mission. Danzō assigned Sai to Team Kakashi as part of a plan to secretly assassinate Sasuke Uchiha. To achieve that goal, Danzō had Sai make contact with Orochimaru in a ruse to make it seem like he wanted to join forces with him to destroy Konoha. When Sai failed his mission but asked to remain with Team Kakashi, Danzō allowed him to do so while reminding the young man that emotions brought hatred, which in turn led to war. 12 Guardian Ninja. In the anime, Danzō was shown being followed by Anbu agents on Tsunade's orders when he was to be briefed by Tatsuji, a spy of his in Amagakure. He and Tatsuji were apprehended by the Anbu and later questioned by Tsunade, although the interrogation was interrupted by Sora, who was discovered eavesdropping. Pain's assault. When Pain began his assault on Konoha, Tsunade asked the toad Kosuke to retrieve Naruto Uzumaki from Mount Myoboku and help defend the village. In the anime, Danzō went to Homura and Koharu to tell them that Tsunade was risking the possible loss of the 4th Hokage's legacy and the Nine Tails by calling Naruto back. In the anime, however, Danzō waited until everyone had left the room and killed Kosuke in an attempt to stop Naruto from returning. Danzō then gathered his root Anbu and instructed them not to aid Konoha in the hopes that Pain's actions would end Tsunade's reign as Hokage. When asked if all the villagers would not then die, Danzō denied this, claiming that Tsunade's medical abilities would save most of them. Following the invasion, leaders of the Land of Fire and Konoha gathered for an emergency meeting. Here, despite Shikaku Nara's best efforts, Danzō convinced the daimyo that previous Hokage's peaceful ideologies had made Konoha weak, and presented himself as the type of leader the village currently needed to enforce the laws of Shinobi and bring order to the world. After brief consideration, the daimyo agreed to appoint him as Sixth Hokage Candidate. Five Kage Summit. When Danzō returned from the meeting, he received a letter from the 4th Raikage informing him of the approaching Kage Summit and the actions of Sasuke Uchiha. As his first order, Danzō ordered Sasuke's execution for treason, marking him as a missing nin. Although he would have preferred confining Naruto to protect the Nine Tails, Danzō was aware of Naruto's newfound popularity in the village following the defeat of Pain, and settled to have Naruto watched by his agents at all times to ensure he could be made into an official Hokage. He also delayed Anko Midarashi's assassination while ordering his men to find Kabuto Yakashi instead, who was in possession of medical information that could help with his right eye and arm. Danzō later departed for the Kage Summit with Torone Aburame and Fu Yamanaka as his bodyguards, revealing the Sharingan in his right eye when they were ambushed by remnant shinobi of the Land of Woods along the way. Upon arrival in the Land of Iron and the meeting's start, Danzō did not actively participate other than reporting to the other Kage of Madara Uchiha being involved with Akatsuki. Mifune suggested that the Five Kage form an alliance of their villages to eliminate Akatsuki, with Danzō as its leader. As the 4th Raikage accuses him and Akatsuki, rather than Orochimaru, of staging the Konoha crush to dispose of Hiruzen and the 4th Kazekage, Ao exposes Danzō's manipulating Mifune before White Zetsu appeared and revealed that Sasuke was nearby. As the Raikage left to eliminate Sasuke, with Ao instructed to keep an eye on Danzō, who explained that the remaining Kage that his ultimate goal was to unify the shinobi nations under one empire, ending the possibility of future war between them. When Sasuke arrived at their location, Danzō and his bodyguards used the opportunity to flee, with Ao in close pursuit. At some point during their escape, Danzō's party was beset by Black Zetsu's Spore technique, but managed to dispatch the clones. Danzō ordered Fu to stop Ao and emphasized that the retrieval of his Byakugan was a top priority. Fu managed to throw Ao off their trail, but failed to retrieve the Byakugan. On their way back to Konoha, Danzō and his men were confronted by Tobi at the Samurai Bridge. Danzō instructed Fu and Torone to distract Tobi while he unsealed his right arm. Once Fu and Torone were defeated, Tobi brought out Sasuke. Danzō then revealed his right arm to show that it was embedded with Sharingan all over, and voiced his intent to add Tobi's and Sasuke's to his collection. Sasuke immediately questioned him about the Uchiha clan's assassination, hoping to find out if the Konoha elders really did force Itachi to murder his family. Danzō confirmed the story and questioned why Itachi would sacrifice peace to tell Sasuke the truth. Angry that Danzō spoke about his brother so casually, Sasuke crushed him with his Susanoo's hand. Despite his apparent death, Danzō was unharmed by Susanoo, as well as Sasuke's subsequent attacks. All the while, Danzō goaded Sasuke by constantly talking about Itachi, prompting him to fully develop his Susanoo. Sasuke used his Susanoo to fire an arrow at Danzō, who was forced to use his wood release to divert the attack. Tobi, having been observing the battle, surmised that his use of Sharingan and wood release must mean that he planned to control the Nine Tails as well, and that he was using Izanagi, with the many Sharingan on his arm being sacrificed one by one to escape death. When he was finally reduced to one, Danzō and Sasuke each prepared one final attack. Breathing wind-natured chakra onto kunai, creating a blade, Danzō prepared to clash with Sasuke's Chidori sharp spear. Danzō believed that he had won and told Sasuke to go and join Itachi, before realizing that Sasuke's genjutsu tricked him to thinking until he had one more eye left to evade the impalement. His depleted chakra levels, coupled with his new injury, caused him to lose control of his wood abilities, and he was forced to sever his arm before he was turned into a giant tree. Refusing to accept defeat, Danzō takes Karin hostage and prepared to use Shisui's eye before Sasuke extended his Chidori sharp spear through Karin to impale Danzō through the heart. Dying, Danzō staggered towards Sasuke and Tobi, thinking about Hiruzen and how, no matter what he did, he could never match him, not even having officially becoming Hokage. With his last breath, he proclaimed that for the sake of the world and the safety of Konoha, he would take Sasuke and Tobi with him to the grave. He then activated the reverse 4 symbols sealing, but Sasuke and Tobi were able to get out of range. Danzō was, nevertheless, able to destroy Shisui's Sharingan in order to prevent Tobi from obtaining it. Legacy. Danzō is widely recognized as one of the leading figures in the village's growth after the death of the second Hokage. Acting as Hiruzen's top intelligence advisor and through his own unsanctioned actions, Danzō's willingness to take the dark but vital tasks of the village, such as management of espionage and assassinations of high-profile threats, were crucial to the success of the village. Though, to the true extent to which Danzō has both influenced and protected the ninja world will remain predominantly unknown. Certain people, especially those en route, remain adamant that if it were not for Danzō and his actions, peace would not have been maintained for so long. He made it a point to eradicate any opposition to Konoha that would destroy the peace that the village enjoyed. As his final act in protecting the village, he attempted to kill Sasuke Uchiha, a missing nin from the village, as well as Tobi, the mastermind of the terrorist organization Akatsuki. Unsuccessful in this, however, in order to thwart Tobi's plans, Danzō crushed Shisui Uchiha's Sharingan before dying. Though he has done a great deal in the way of protecting Konoha, Danzō had a manipulative, duplicitous, and militant perspective born from the era of the Three Great Wars, and at times he was unable to fully clean up and control the blowback of some operations, such as in the case of Nagato, Orochimaru, Kabuto, and Sasuke. Despite this, the actions of Danzō, Homura, Koharu, and Hiruzen regarding the Uchiha clan did avoid a world-scale conflict, which Hiruzen had failed to stop diplomatically. In an ironic turn of events, Sasuke had later unwittingly taken up many of Danzo's traits during the Fourth Shinobi World War after deciding to protect the village, proclaiming that he would change the system of shinobi that he considers the source of all the chaos the ninja world has endured. After the war, though he remains acting mostly in the shadows, he is not as ruthless as Danzō. After Danzo's demise, Kakashi and Tsunade worked to tie up all loose ends, researching remaining root facilities and members. However, not wanting the ex-root members to become ostracized because of the history with him, the two Hokage chose not to publicly announce their final report. Also, one of Danzo's most loyal followers and top researchers, Tanuki Shigaraki, grew to resent the village for Danzo's death and by extension the disbanding of Root. Wanting revenge, he worked to complete his final project entrusted to him by Danzō, the Gozu Tenno, as means for his goal. Ultimately, his former subordinates such as Sai came to accept that Danzo's actions, while genuine to protect the village, were misguided and only led to more suffering. Personality. When he was younger, Danzō was a hot-headed and eager ninja with a strong desire to prove himself. He, after a long internal struggle, decided to volunteer himself to buy time for his teammates, though Hiruzen Sarutobi beat him to it. He often displayed jealousy towards Hiruzen, believing that he was always one step ahead of him and feeling inferior to him. Danzō never used soft words like friend, as he never wanted to lean on someone or be leaned on. As an adult, Danzō was a completely calm, cold, and collected individual who did not allow his emotions to surface. Due to being raised in times of war, Danzō's beliefs differed from those of the Hokage, as he felt that the interests of the village should be placed above all else, even ethics and morals. Danzō seemed to hate the previous Hokage's belief, stating that those beliefs have destroyed the village after Pain's assault on it, despite using the attack as an attempt to overthrow Tsunade and leaving its civilians in peril, as well as being responsible for Nagato's negative perceptions of Konoha, which led to its destruction. According to Koharu Utatane, Danzō was very ambitious, but she also stated that all he ever did was for the sake of the village. In the anime, his desire to be a greater and stronger Hokage than Hiruzen made him even attempt to have Hiruzen assassinated in the belief that the third Hokage had lost the capacity to effectively lead the village. An extremist, Danzō preferred to directly eliminate threats through assassination and execution rather than diplomacy and negotiation. However, he secretly worked closely with the international criminal Orochimaru in illegal experiments in order to increase his physical capabilities. Danzō possessed a fanatical and arbitrary adherence to the ideals of a shinobi, believing that they must sacrifice absolutely everything for the village. However, Danzō hypocritically feared death, hiding his fear behind a belief that his survival was necessary for the sake of the shinobi world itself. He would only conquer his fear in the last moments of life, boldly attempting to kill Sasuke and Tobi for the sake of his village and the entire shinobi world with his suicide, and destroying Shisui's eye with his dying breath. Despite his reputation as a militarist, Danzō ultimately sought peace for the ninja world, one he would achieve by uniting all shinobi forces under his control. As such, he sought the title of Hokage, waiting patiently for decades before an opportunity arose. Danzō's pursuit of peace followed the idea that the ends justify the means. As such, he had no remorse taking any immoral actions as long as he believed it would benefit Konoha. To that end, he worked in the shadows to ensure this future came to fruition. He used Root to eliminate potential threats to Konohagakure with or without the consent of the Hokage, and to further him along the path to achieving the position, as he believed he was the best prepared for the necessary transition. Because of the nature of his actions, Danzō could not allow the details of what he had done to become public knowledge, and thus he branded members of Root with cursed seals to prevent them from revealing his secrets. Danzō also believed Konoha was strongest and most stable when the village had a target to focus its anger and hatred on. To this end, Danzō was key in stigmatizing the Uchiha clan to the rest of the village, and was the one to secretly leak out the knowledge that Naruto Uzumaki was the container of the nine-tailed fox, ensuring the villagers would loathe him as a result. Danzō also views the members of Root as expendable pawns and shows no remorse in having them perform duties that could result in permanent injury, as shown in his ordering Fu to gouge out Ao's Byakugan, despite the fact that it would result in Fu losing his eye as well. Danzō is also treacherous by nature. Likewise, should an ally prove too capable for his comfort, Danzō will see to their elimination, as he attempted to do with both Nono and Kabuto Yakashi. Itachi also believed Danzō had no intention of honoring his promise of sparing Sasuke when he accepted the mission to kill his own clan, and had to threaten to leak Konoha's secrets to enemy villages and risk his own safety by returning after Hiruzen's death to protect Sasuke. He was willing to do anything to further his physical and political powers, as shown in allowing himself to be experimented on with Hashirama's cells by Orochimaru in order to gain the power to control a tailed beast and extend his use of Izanagi. He also broke international law by manipulating Mifune into making him supreme commander of the allied shinobi forces. In his later years, Danzō had become somewhat delusional, believing that he would be able to change the shinobi world, even though his actions at the Kage Summit lost him his credibility. Danzō also had no hesitation in stealing Shisui's right eye in order to gain access to Koro Amatsukami, despite his unquestionable loyalty to Konoha over his own clan, and the fact that he was a descendant of someone who had once been Danzō's own comrade. Toby deduced Danzō's intent was to seize control of the Nine Tails from Naruto by using his multiple Sharingan. Danzō is also shown to be extremely arrogant, as seen in his gloating during his final clash with Sasuke, believing he had won, and only he is capable of changing the entire world. Despite his self-righteous, amoral, and draconian methods, Danzō had a sense of nobility and dignity. He reprimanded Sasuke for his hatred and violence against Konoha, saying it had wasted both the sacrifice of the Uchiha and Itachi's own personal sacrifices. Like Hiruzen, he used the final moments of his life to help Konoha by trying to take Sasuke and Toby with him. Despite his envy against the third and their growing rivalry, he seemed to still care for his boyhood friendship with Hiruzen, reminiscing of his childhood memories with him and asking what he was to Hiruzen in his final moments. His fellow elders, Homura Midokado and Koharu Utatane, held Danzō in high regard, and often took his advice when dealing with the politics of the village. It's unknown how much they knew about the full extent of his actions. Did you enjoy our video? Make sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.